Right, it's time now for Focus, and today we're looking at what it's like to be unemployed in Denmark. This as the French government works on overhauling unemployment benefits. Here in France, if you're fired, you get 70% of your former salary in benefits. In Denmark, job seekers get up to 90%. But the state keeps a very close eye on them. A report now by France 2 reporters.
In Denmark, unemployment is a rarity. Only 4.2% of the population's looking for work. That's less than 120,000 people. Job seekers come under strict surveillance, like Pascale. Originally from France, she's been living in Copenhagen for 16 years. After losing her job a few months ago, she now has to check in regularly to this government website.
It's not just meetings. They have a list of all the times I've been ill and how many times I've connected to the website.
That information is saved?
Yes, it's saved.
She has to apply to 3 jobs each week and provide proof of her efforts.
I have to provide a lot of information. I mean, not just the type of job, but also the address of the business, the person I contacted, how I found out about the job.
This information is checked almost in real time by the local job centre.
Welcome here at the Frederiksberg Job Centre.
Jorgen Brorsen and 30 advisors go over all the data sent to them by the 4,000 job searchers in their area.
Hello, Carrie.
Yes, hello.
And you can see Carrie is preparing for the next interview for unemployed person. She can see how many jobs the person have applied for. She can see where she have applied, which kind of cities and the area, because here in Denmark you should apply for jobs in an area something like 120 kilometers from where you're living.
Ja. ANNETTE STAMPE.
The process isn't all done on computer. Each month, the job searcher has to come in to talk to an advisor. 55-year-old ANNETTE STAMPE has a 30-minute interview. She's been unemployed for 4 months now.
I have one big red thing here. Everyone who's unemployed have to go out for 4 weeks in a firm or something which is like going to a job. Virksomhedspraktik in Danish.
Yeah.
And you should have done that for around 3 weeks ago.
For the job seekers, the criticism can be difficult to take.
If you ask me, I have to be honest and answer, it's a bit annoying. But still, it's part of the... That's the way it is, and I mean, everybody has to do that.
If they don't abide by the rules, they can be financially sanctioned. The fine can be anything from 200 euros to the total suspension of their benefits.
Our job is to get people out of the system as soon as possible, as fast as possible, because it's getting very expensive for the commune if they're staying longer in the system.
The controls may be strict, but the payments are generous. Job seekers can get up to 90% of their former salary and benefits. In France, it's only 70%. Many in Denmark seem to think that the system is fair.
If you get some benefit from the government, there is also duty with. So without duty, it is anarchy.
Yeah, it should be more strict. I mean, then go get a job in a supermarket, or it's not that hard.
But for some job seekers, the pressure gets to be too much. For these cases, the organisation PowerJob is there to give them a hand. Its founder feels the system is failing some people.
It's a pressure for many of the people who are coming here, because often they come here after half year, after they haven't get a job.
But with the unemployment rate among the lowest in Europe, it's unlikely the strict controls will be removed anytime soon.
For more on this, I'm now joined in the studio by Christopher DEMBIK, Head of Macroeconomic Analysis at SAXO Bank. Hello, thank you very much for coming in. Now, as we just saw, Denmark keeps a close eye on job seekers. What about here in France? How do the situations compare?
Well, in France, you also have very strong controls, actually, on job seekers. But at the same time, what you need to understand that in Denmark, they focus a lot on training, which is not the case, actually, in France. You have only very strong controls in the French society when you are looking for a job, but they don't bring you the tools to try to perform better, to have better interviews with employers, or even to get new skills. That's the biggest issue.
Macron wants to change that, doesn't he?
Exactly. So it will be the biggest, I think, reform in the mandate, or maybe at least in 2018. When you discuss with companies in France, they say we don't find employees, which is completely crazy because we have very high unemployment. But the biggest issue is that we don't find qualified employees. So that's the key point. We need to focus on training. Over the past 30 years, we have implemented a lot of reforms on trainings in France, but most of them, they didn't work so well. So we need to know what is the best way to do, how much we need to invest. I mean, of course, in terms of finance, but also how much energy, which kind of organization needs to bring these new training programs in France. But I think it will be the best answer to fight against mass unemployment.
As well as training, there's something else the French government wants to do, which is to not only give benefits to people who've been fired, but give benefits to people who've decided of their own free will to leave their jobs. What's the thinking behind that? Because surely that's a costly measure. Why would the French government want to do that?
Well, I agree with them on the measure. I think it's smart because it makes people want to move much easier in the job market. One of the issues in the job market in France is that usually you are very reluctant to change jobs. So you prefer to stay 5-10 years in the same jobs. So you need more flexibility in this job market. So yes, it's a smart idea, but as you said, the problem is that it might be very costly. And I am not sure that public finance in France is strong enough in order to manage this kind of situation. Or it means that at one point someone will need to pay, and we need to know who's going to pay. So I think it could be a measure that will be implemented if we manage to decrease unemployment quite significantly. Let's say we reach 7%. Yes, why not? But nowadays, I don't think it's the best solution.
Now, getting back to the training, this is something that you were saying really helps Denmark when it comes to keeping unemployment low. Are there other things that France could be looking to Denmark for in terms of improving the situation, or other countries in Europe perhaps?
Well, it is in Denmark. It's very interesting because it's a kind of social contract. We agree to have more control, but at the same time we have higher benefits, we have trainings, and also what is quite interesting, very strong flexibility on the job market. So you can switch jobs quite easily. I saw data saying that 1/5 of Danish people changed jobs in 2015. So we don't find the same figure in France, but it is a social contract. So I don't think you can implement the same kind of measure in France. And there is one key issue. In Denmark, it works well because you have very strong trade unions, which is clearly not the case in France. We have trade unions in the streets, but they don't manage to bring anything inside companies. So that's the biggest issue. You need to have partners when you want to change the job market. And nowadays, sorry to say that, but Emmanuel Macron doesn't have really partners. You have trade unions, but they don't represent a large portion of employees.
And how long could it be before there's change? Because Macron has said in interviews, give me a year and a half, 2 years. Is that a realistic amount of time before things can really be turned around?
No, it's very optimistic. But I understand that he is a politician, so he needs to say that change will come very fast. But as a matter of fact, in the job market, it takes quite a very long time, especially if we focus on training. And at the same time, we need to know if okay, nowadays the economy is going well, quite well, but we don't know if in the next 2-4 years the economy will be well at the same time. We see slowdown in China, slowdown in the United States, so it will be bad effect on the French economy. So that's why I think it needs to act very fast, but we should not expect very fast results.
What would your advice be to him then? We've talked about training, about possibly giving people who've decided to leave their jobs benefits and not just those who've been fired from their jobs. What else needs to happen to make the market more flexible? And it seems now the French are accepting the idea of change, whereas they've really resisted this very strongly in the past.
Well, I think we need also to focus on education, not only training, but education. So prior you enter the job market. Nowadays, if you take a look, almost everyone gets a high second-degree diploma. But as a matter of fact, when you check which kind of diploma he gets, most of the time it doesn't matter for employers. So you need to match training education with the job market. It means what we need, I would say, is not to have plenty of economists in the next 10 years, but we need people that manage machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data. So we need also to have a big push on education to focus on what we need in the next 10, 15 years to be more competitive as a French economy.
All right, well, thank you very much indeed for your time and your analysis, Christopher DEMBIK.